Sure. It's not just about building a business. It's about unleashing a legacy. It's about connecting people together. It's about connecting ideas together. And those ideas, when we connect them together, that starts to build out the creativity, and the creativity goes into the product and the service or the offer that you have, and it just keeps growing from there. But it all starts in you understanding the internal part of it, because the internal part is the thing that's going to feed the external, the structure. Good afternoon. And thank you for joining me this afternoon for today's Leadership Bites. And this episode today, what I wanted to present to you is the focus of what are you focusing on in your business? Not as far as like strategies or tactics or whatever, but when you're actually communicating what you do to your team, to external people, are you focusing on your product, or are you focusing on the deeper meaning behind what you do? And I think if you ask yourself that question, I think most people that I talk to, they focus solely on the external stuff and they forget about the internal stuff. But the truth is that the internal piece of it, and I'm going to get to this about what this is all about in a minute, but the internal piece of it is so much more impactful and is actually going to connect you on a much deeper level to your team, to external people that you talk to, and just even to yourself as a leader, as a founder. So this whole conversation that I wanted to have with you today stems from I am doing some work right now, mentoring someone who is about to give a very big pitch to some investors. And she has a remarkable story, and she has a remarkable business that is part of the hospitality industry. And if you know me, a lot of people shy away from the hospitality industry. A lot of people shy away from getting involved in the restaurant industry, getting involved in even the retail industry, because there are a lot of challenges that go along with it. As I said to her, with restaurants and the hospitality industry, a lot of people shy away because of how it's always been perceived for many, many years, and the struggles that you go through, the challenges that you go through. But for me, I think working with restaurants has been, and navigating all of these things has been, it's had its challenges over the years, but it's also had so many rewards as it relates to, and it's why I'm so passionate about it. But as it relates to what we're going to talk about today, which is what we want to focus on, that is the thing that is actually bigger than the products that we sell or the service that we provide. So in talking to her and in mentoring her and coaching her on this pitch that she's about to do, and it's a big pitch, and it's, she's established her business. She started it 5 years ago, has grown it, and she's at that point, that inflection point where she's gotten past the growth phase, and she's like, I want to go to the next, I want to scale it. I want to go to this next phase in my business. And I'm not really sure like what to do and how to get there. And so she's kind of at that point, and it's like, all right, I want to go to this next phase, and I want to make a pitch for this next part of what I want to do. And we started kind of going through her business and going through the timeline of things and going through how she got started and really what set her into this trajectory of being in the hospitality industry, considering it's faced with a lot of challenges. She is specifically involved in the I would call it restaurant, primarily the spirits industry, the bar industry. And I mean, and like I said, her story is remarkable. And as we were going through the process of getting her ready for this pitch, the things that she wanted to keep focusing on in the pitch, and these parts are important, are all the mechanical pieces. Okay. My business is X and I do X, like more from a mechanical standpoint. So I have a restaurant and we're known for creative cocktails, and this is, here's my revenue, here's my profit, and I want to scale my operations. And it was very, and again, I see this a lot with people when they are preparing things like this. And they're all information that, yes, you do want to have in a pitch. Absolutely. But that's not what this is about. And I looked at her and I said to her, I said, tell me something. Why did you start this? Why did you start this business? What are you so passionate about in an industry that is presented with tons and tons of challenges? And as we started to dig deeper, and as we started to kind of get into, um, you know, the because, as my friend Mick always says, why are you doing this? Like, why? Like, because of what? And as we started to get into this and kind of unearth this story as to why she was so passionate, particularly about the bar industry, why she was so passionate about mixology and about the spirit industry and about, having this mobile business. And it was even beyond the experience that you create with creative cocktails or a creative restaurant solution. It was more than that. And as we started kind of going through this, I said to her, I said, listen, the one thing I want you to think about, because it is important to know your numbers. It is important to know your numbers, to know what service you offer, to know what products you serve, to know all of those, to know, how many people you need on your team, to know all of those things. But it's even more important, it's even way more important to really know why it is that you're doing what you're doing in the first place. What does it matter to you? And when we started to uncover this and started to uncover about building relationships with people and having a deeper, like educating people, and through that education, you can start a dialogue about that relates to building that relationship with someone. It's about building connection. So as we started to kind of uncover this and we started to dig further into why are you doing this in the first place? To take an industry that might be known for fast in, fast out, to flip tables, to really like breaking the rules, to carving your own path, to going like completely breaking out of the norm and doing it your own way. And I said to her, I said, listen, I said, I want you to think of it like this. You're not just pitching a business and you're not just building a business. What you're doing is you're actually unleashing a legacy. And that legacy isn't because of what you're doing. It's because of who you are as a leader, and who you are and who you're meant to become as a leader completely relates back to why you started this business in the first place. And it was funny because the light bulb went on. And I said, after that, I said to her, I said, this is what you want to incorporate when you're talking about your business. You want to incorporate how your story and what you've been through, that challenge that you were faced with, that adversity that you were faced with, that made you decide in that moment, that defining moment that made you decide, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to change the world. I want to make a difference. I want to challenge the norm, challenge the status quo, and do it my own way. So when you think about that and you craft that and you put that together, it's not just about how you're explaining it to the external world, how you're explaining it to your customers, how you're explaining it to the people that you're pitching to the investors, how you're explaining it to vendors. The more important part is that when you can connect with that yourself, you're going to lead in a completely different way. You're going to lead from a place of heart and soul versus from a place of just building a structure. The other thing that it does is it connects you and helps you remember who you are. And in doing that, like I said, you show up differently. But even the bigger thing is that the people who you work with every day inside of your business, the people who give your business substance and energy and are the people who are doing the work, they can connect to what you're doing and how they play a part in making it happen based on understanding what that core is all about. And when we do that, when we can get our people to understand it based on why are we doing this in the first place? What difference are we trying to make? What is the impact? Why did I even start this to begin with? It had nothing to do with the physical product necessarily, but it had to do with what you wanted to do with that physical product to actually have it impact people. The owner of Spanx, she created a physical product, but it wasn't about the physical product. It was about the problem that it was solving for women. And when we can do that, when we can really understand what that why is, and I don't even like to explain it like that, because every time somebody would say, know your why, I would be like, ugh, it's not even just that. It's thinking about what is that deeper impact that I want to make with what I do? What is that legacy that I want to unleash with how I am showing up and who I am being and how I'm bringing that into the structure that I'm creating? Because when we can do that, our people understand. Our people know, like, okay, I am not just I don't just work in a restaurant. I'm not just a server. I'm not just a bartender. And I hate when people say I'm just a bartender, because no, you're a person. You're a human being. But when they know what that deeper impact is that they're making, because they understand your story, they understand the adversity that you faced, the challenge that you had that helped to launch you into becoming an entrepreneur, that helped you launch into creating this, being creative, inventing this, innovating something. When they understand what that was and then how this product was born, how this service was born, they can connect to it on a deeper level. And then here's what happens. Here's what happens. The dynamic culture inside your business, because it constantly shifts and changes, and you'll have to pivot because adversity will come your way. But you're not looking at it from just the structure part of it, but you're looking at it from the substance. And that culture that is created from people connecting, because something inside your people in your team, something inside each individual on your team is passionate about something that's related to what you're passionate about. And when we can make those connections on a human level, when we can make those connections, people that worked for Sarah Blakely, who created Spanx, when they understood that deeper meaning, even the people when she was by herself, a solopreneur, and she was in Nordstrom and she was selling her stuff and she was talking to the clerks that worked for Nordstrom, they got behind her and they were like, we want to sell your stuff for you, or we want to help you sell it. So then they started like passing out marketing materials or putting marketing materials up so that they could help her. Why? Because they understood the because behind what she was doing. It wasn't just about the product, it was about the problem that she was solving. And then people can also see that passion. But the truth is that, like I said, it connects with people on a human level. So people understand because something inside them aligns with something that's inside you. And then when you do that, then people want to be part of, hey, I want to learn how to do this. I want to be mentored by you. I want to learn how to create this. I want to learn how to put my own, I want to do this the way that you do it, but then also like I want to kind of put my own creativity on it, put my own spin on it because I want to be part of this difference that you're making. So if you're thinking about it, again, it's not just about building a structure. It's not just about building a business. It's about unleashing a legacy. It's about connecting people together. It's about connecting ideas together. And those ideas, when we connect them together, that starts to build out the creativity, and the creativity goes into the product and or the service or the offer that you have, and it just keeps growing from there. But it all starts in you understanding the internal part of it, because the internal part is the thing that's going to feed the external, the structure, how you set your products up, how you set your service up. One can't exist without the other. Because if you're just building it, and this is where, when we were digging into this conversation about the pitch and we were really digging into it, and she said, I feel like it's just so rigid and structured and I'm not explaining it right. And I just feel kind of stuck. And it was because she was just focusing on the external metrics and the external picture and what she thought the investors wanted to hear. And the truth of the matter is that when you can go back to that, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, beyond the product, that's going to connect with people much deeper. And not only is it going to connect with them deeper for your people, it's going to start to integrate. And what I mean by integrate is when they're working on a task, or they're working on a project, or they're managing people inside your business, or they're creating something, it's going to resonate on a much deeper level. And they're also going to understand it more. And not even just understand what they're doing and why they're doing it, but then they can actually take action a lot faster. They can actually really embody that action, basically, like, to use a airy fairy term, anyway. So just embody it even more. So I think, let's get back to focusing on how can we connect to people? How can we have that bigger impact, that deeper impact? How can we unleash that legacy beyond that structure? Because remember, you're not just building a business, you're creating impact. You're connecting to the hearts and minds of the people that you work with every single day. And that's what creates your legacy. So whether you're making a pitch to future investors, or you're talking to new vendors, or you're talking to a bank to get a line of credit, whatever it is, yes, those hardcore structural numbers, metrics, all of that stuff is important. But what's even more important is talking to people about why you're doing it in the first place. So I hope that this helped you. Thank you for joining me for another week of our Leadership Bites, giving you some little snippets based on my own experiences and my own stories with, what I'm doing on a regular basis. Things that when I'm having conversations with people, things that I'm navigating myself, to hopefully help you to really continue to build in today's crazy world. All right. Have a great rest of your day.